So, my friends, the Aleph and Taw is not translated over 1,000 times in Scripture. Many people say that this word, the Et, or the Aleph Taw, if you will, is not even a word, a Hebrew word. What it is actually is a designator to show whom something is speaking of. In other words, that it would appear next to something that was important in Scripture, the direct object of something. However, my friends, I think it's very important to note that every single word that is recorded in the book that we must live by. Yahushua said we must live off of every single word that comes forth out of the mouth of YAHUWAH. This is not a punctuation mark, as many would imply. The Aleph and Taw, those are two letters. Why would those be punctuation marks? They wouldn't be punctuation marks. There are no punctuation marks in Scripture. If you will look at the Leningrad Codex and the Dead Sea Scrolls, you will see that there are not even spaces between individual words. So how in the world would we have such a thing in the Scripture? The Aleph and Taw does, however, represent completeness. It does represent a designator. However, it is much more than that. We shouldn't just overlook it by simply throwing it off to the side and saying that there's nothing more, because it's very significant that this word appears throughout Scripture over 1,000 times, and it is not translated, and many people can't even tell you what it is supposed to mean other than what I had previously explained that they would say. In the book of Revelation chapter 1, verse 8, YAHUWAH says, I am the Aleph and the Taw. Now your modern translation will probably say the Alpha and the Omega. We know that YAHUWAH did not speak the worlds into being in the Greek language. He spoke in the language he created, and he gave that language in the Torah, and he spoke it to his servant, his prophet Moshe, or Moses, and he revealed these things in the Scripture through his own language. So he would have said, I am the Aleph and the Taw, the beginning of the end, says YAHUWAH, who is and who was and who is to come, the Almighty. So YAHUWAH says he is the Aleph and the Taw. Now let's turn to the book of Revelation, chapter 22. We'll look at verse 13. I am the Aleph and the Taw, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are those doing his commands, so that the authority shall be theirs unto the tree of life, and to enter in through the gates of the city. But outside are the dogs, and those who enchant with drugs, and those who whore, and the murderers, and the adulterers, and all those who love and do falsehood. I, Yahushua, so this is Yahushua who says, I am the Aleph and Taw, have sent my messenger to witness to you these matters in the assemblies. I am the root and the offspring of David, or David, the bright and morning star. And the Spirit and the bride say, come. And he who hears, let him come. And he who thirsts, come. And he who desires it, take the water of life without paying. It's very interesting what he's quoting here. He's actually referring to what is recorded in Yeshayahu through the word of YAHUWAH, where he says, come and drink of the waters of life freely. And Yahushua, when he's upon the earth, he said, if any man thirst, let him come unto me, and out of his belly shall come forth rivers of Mayim, Kaim, or living waters. It's a very beautiful picture that Yahushua is painting for us here. But notice after he says that he is the Aleph and Taw, and he describes the gates of the city, and then he says, I am the root and the offspring of David. The root and the offspring, or the shoot, the branch, the Semach that came through David. Remember, King David had been given a prophecy that after your seed after you, I shall raise up a everlasting king. He will sit on his throne, and that he would be the son. Yahuwah said that he will be my son, and I will be his father. So it's very important to understand the relationship. Now, YAHUWAH births the Word. He creates the Word. He speaks everything into being through His Word. So let us go to John, Yahuchanan, John chapter 1. This is the same man who received the revelation in the book of Revelations. And this is another revelation that he has in John chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word. In the beginning. Bereshith, And again, remember, that's the word in Hebrew. And we know that these scripts were originally in the Hebrew language. We can prove this. So someone of the culture in the time would have read Bereshith was the word, and their minds would have went directly back to Bereshith, the very first words. Bereshith, bara, Elohim, et, Hashemayim. And they would remember, in the beginning was the word, the Aleph Tav. The Aleph Tav represents the range of the letters. It represents the word. It represents everything that Yahuwah would reach for and put together in the ways that he would to create life. When he would speak the words of the Aleph Tav and put them together to bring about the building blocks of life. We cannot create anything physical without what is already here, whether it be the information or the physical material. Only Yahuwah has given us the building blocks for life and creation through his word. And this is in the beginning. Bereshith was the word, and the word was with Elohim, and the word was Elohim. He was in the beginning with Elohim. And we see in Bereshith, the Aleph and Tav appears right next to the word Elohim or Elohim. All came to be through him, which makes sense because he's the word, he's the Aleph Tav. And without him, not even one came to be that came to be. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And we see right after Yahuwah creates the heavens and the earth, he says, let there be light. And this is again referring to the Bereshith story, the Genesis story. We're going to go to verse 14 now. And it says, and the word became flesh and pitched his tent or dwelt among us. Pitched his tent or dwelt among us. Recall the very first letter in the Torah is the bait. It is a tent, a dwelling place. The whole picture of Bereshith is seen through the New Testament writers, and they understand the relationship that there was in the very beginning with Messiah. And so do most of the sages. They also realize that the thought and conception of Messiah was in the very beginning. So this is not going in against anything that most people who study Torah even believe. This is just showing the absolute truth of the matter. That Yahushua says he is the Aleph and the Tav. However, we know that the difference between Yahuwah and his son is that Yahuwah is greater than he, because Yahuwah gives the word to the son. Do you understand that the word can't be without first having the Father? However, the Father has said, my word shall stand. My word is truth. He has elevated his word. It is very interesting that when Yahushua was crucified on the stake, that Yahuwah had to bruise and destroy and crush the very word that he used to create in the very beginning. Before you and I came into being, he had to destroy that word that was with him in the beginning for the sake of you and myself and the physical things on this earth. He had to destroy the very word that he used to create all things, because not one thing came to be without him. So he paid the price for creation itself by destroying the word. It's a very profound revelation. So Yahuwah has exalted the word. He took him out of the grave, just as the Tehillim says, that you will not allow your kind one to see corruption. And now he is elevated to the right hand of Yahuwah, just as Tehillim 110 says, Psalm 110 says, Yahuwah said to my master, come sit at my right hand so that I make your enemies your footstool. And surely Yahushua is the right hand of Yahuwah. He is the word of Yahuwah. Now let's look at Matthew 28. Matthew 28. Let's go to verse 18. And this is after Yahushua has been crucified on a stake. He comes to his disciples, and it says, and Yahushua came up and spoke to them, saying, all authority has been given to me in heaven and earth. The very first thing that is in the beginning. Bereshith, bara, Elohim, et, Hashemayim, et, haaretz. Et haaretz. So it says, in the beginning, Elohim, Aleph Tav, and then he created the heavens, and then Aleph Tav, the earth. And so what I'm saying is, in the very beginning, He has been given dominion back over the things which he had. And now he rules and reigns at the right hand. And all authority has been given to him over the things that were made by him. Through him, Yahuwah used his word to create all things and has established his word.